We spend a lot of time trying to crack our own code. We track our sleep, optimize our habits, and map out every variable of our lives, hoping that if we just collect enough data, we'll finally understand exactly who we are. But what happens when that impulse is pushed to its absolute limit? This is a handwritten journal entry from November 2025. On the surface, it looks like a standard physical record, but the text describes a dizzying technological loop. The author writes that he is watching an AI spend 30 minutes analyzing a document about his own internet activity. At the same time, another program is reading that exact document aloud in a synthetic clone of his own voice. He is using his phone to record the AI analyzing him and using his hand to write down the entire process. He names this stack of observation the ultimate recursion fractal. It is a system observing itself. But in a world equipped with the tools to infinitely analyze our own reflections, we have to ask, where exactly does the human being begin and end? Staring into the mirror doesn't eventually reveal a true solid self. It merely traps the mind in a sterile, isolated circuit. This page from the same notebook illustrates how easily we default to treating our own identity like an engineering problem. We assume the mind is a machine that can be disassembled and optimized. Notice the specific vocabulary used here to try and map human behavior. Divide, componentize, recombine, conquer. It's an attempt to break the self down into neat, manageable parts. There is a strict limitation to this approach. The person designing the behavioral system is trapped inside the very system they are trying to fix. You cannot step outside of your own mind to look at it objectively, which means your perspective is built on structural blind spots. Grounded. When the observer is trapped inside the system they're trying to map, they inherit every one of that system's blind spots. Without an external reference point, the ledger never balances. To locate the actual self, we have to stop looking at the isolated center of the individual and start looking at the boundaries. In permaculture, there is a concept known as the edge effect. It dictates that the most vibrant, diverse life doesn't happen deep inside a single uniform habitat. It happens at the boundary, where two entirely different ecosystems collide. This June 2026 journal entry applies that framework directly to the mind. On the left, the author asks, "Are we the system?" On the right, he maps out identity using ecological terms: attractors, mix and match, one idea spawns another. Identity isn't a permanent atomic core sitting quietly in your brain. It is the unpredictable emergence spawned by local conditions and interacting agents. A human being is a dynamic ecological event. We require friction with the external world and collisions with other people to actually take shape. Because no embedded agent can see the whole, epistemological humility becomes a structural necessity. We require another pair of eyes to register the parts of ourselves we physically cannot see. Look at this drawn figure. It illustrates the concept of emergence. The singular entity is made up of dozens of differentiated, interacting nodes. There is no one central brain pulling the strings. When two minds meet, the goal isn't to conquer, fix, or perfectly map the other person. Instead, we practice sensing. We interact entirely within the empty, vulnerable space between us. As these two people collide, they produce relational exhaust. New thoughts, new identities, and new states of being are generated in that empty space and released back into the whole. Neither person could have produced this material alone. Human connection defies the logic of a mechanical ledger. It is a collision that literally manufactures new parts of who we are. To be human is to be deeply and inextricably tied to the unpredictable nature of everyone around you. If our identity is formed in the space between people, then our desire for control becomes dangerous. Trying to perfectly define or manage someone else destroys the very space where that shared humanity is supposed to happen. The notebook abandons the engineering mindset for a poem of epistemic surrender. Go do what you do. You be you. Give the room to be them too. This protects their right to surprise you, choosing not to fill empty space with your own assumptions. A finished identity is a closed system. True humanity requires leaving the room empty enough for something new to be born.